Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with Andrei Martyanov, and we got plenty to talk about. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and with Andrei Martyanov. For those who haven't seen the latest news, apparently conservative activist. I don't know that much about him, to be honest with you. I don't really keep up with a lot of that kind of stuff. But Charlie Kirk, apparently somebody shot him in the neck at some incident, and he died, and that is absolutely terrible. I've heard conflicting things about that, whether they have the suspect, they don't have the suspect. People have all kinds of suspicions. Right now, I don't know anything about it. It's just an absolute horrible thing, and I hope the best for him and his family. But I mean, he's a young man, and just who knows? We don't know anything right now. But it's a terrible thing. So Andre and I are going to get going. A lot going on. Let's start here. Poland. They're claiming, we had just last week, former President Duda brought up that this was last week. He brought up the fact that a missile from a Ukrainian anti-aircraft battery landed in Poland a year or two ago, and the Ukrainians tried to say it was a Russian attack and tried to get Article 5. And he even said a week ago that the Ukrainians were hoping for a big war between NATO and Russia, and that was their dream. This was a week ago. This week, we get pictures of a drone, not a drone, but pictures of an alleged drone that fell allegedly in Poland.
Yeah.
And the apparently Poland is saying to NATO, we must do Article 4. Article 4 actually simply means they're going to get together and talk. And I do have, in fact, I've got right now, I recorded the response from the Kremlin. So that's the response from the Kremlin. Apparently, they were quite amused that Article 4. Andre, the way I see it is this: the coalition that they met in Paris, they met in London, they came and they kissed Trump's boot. That's pretty much that's all they've been doing, and so now they're going to invoke Article 4. Oh boy, that's a scary thing. Whatever you do, don't invoke Article 4.
No, Article 4 is fine. I mean, Turkey was invoking it since 2003, from what I heard, like dozens of times, if not more. Poland does it all the time. It's classic cry wolf thing. First, they need to attract, attention to themselves. Do not forget, Poland is done with receiving those grants, especially considering the fact of the pathetic economic state of all over Europe. All of it, I mean, without exception. England, UK is going into the dumpster. France is probably not going to exist as a country at some point of time. Same goes for Germany. So they need war, especially Ukrainian regime, Kiev regime. So they have this Kellogg dude who's a certified moron and completely engaged into business. He's making money on war because his daughter runs this NGO, which provides the so-called assistance. Obviously, they are very unhappy if this military aid will dry up, but the United States itself doesn't have anything to provide it with. So, and we have this pathetic and desperate attempt. So what do? You do the false flag. So how do you do the false flag? Well, there is a Gerbera, which is used as decoy. Primarily, Russians use, Gerbera drones as decoy. So what do? Some of them fall. I mean, they don't carry any kind of explosives or anything. So you grab this thing, give it to Poles, who create this, hustle. Oh my God, we have an attack of 19 drones or something like that. Then they show this Gerbera and you're seeing evil Russians. So let's call, Article 4. So they get together for the Article 4, which is discussion. If you can go, and you must go to Article 5. And still remnants of at least the preservation instinct. I don't think they have any common sense. They are morons primarily, all of those guys who had the NATO organization as the countries, and this Rutte guy he's a clown, basically. And so they say, no, yeah, it doesn't warrant, Article 5. Poland wasn't an attack. So, and the Russian defense minister said it, we never put any targets in Poland, maybe it's accidentally something flew in, but yeah, too freaking bad, but it's most likely the false flag by Ukraine. And if you go and take a look, I actually did it today in my video, this famous, oh my God, government building attack. Let me tell you, the beautiful videos now appeared. Thank God for internet and smartphones. You can see the actual KH-101 Russian cruise missile flying low over this building. And guess what? It doesn't attack this building. It continues to fly where it has to hit, which it did. But obviously, they launched the air defense missile at it. And guess what? This missile, which is Ukrainian, it's either Patriot or most likely Patriot, hits the building. And what do? They invent the story that it was some kind of Iskander. I have news for them. Considering the damage, which is primarily superficial, couple of windows, there was a fire, on one floor, and like parts of this floor. If Iskander would fly in, with its almost 600-kilogram warhead, the third of this building won't be standing, So, yeah, it's a classic Ukrainian thing. They hit the apartment blocks with their, air defense missiles, which cannot intercept pretty much anything. They obviously tell you that they intercept 146% of everything that Russia is launching. It's, the effectiveness of Patriot, we know that. And THAAD is 146 to 205%. It varies depending on the situation. And so, yeah, you can see yourself, what do? They create, again, hot air, this false flag narrative. Of course, the bunch of the criminals, which they are, most of the Western journalists who deal with this topic of warmongers and war criminals, because they support essentially what is happening, and they begin to spread this BS, this propaganda. And yeah, but well, today, obviously, because of the tragic circumstances of Charlie Kirk's assassination, those news simply eclipsed everything. But then again, yeah, nobody is going to Article 5, and even if they did, what are they going to do? I have the question. You see, I'm a practical man. I'm not interested in statements, especially by Western politicians. Their statements are not worth the air they shook. And so basically, with what? Tell me. Show me the money, show me your credit history. They're not paper tigers. They're chihuahuas, economically and militarily. And as a result, we have this situation, and the Zelensky regime is actually on its last legs, considering. And the only thing which matters, the only thing which really shapes it all, is the line of the combat contact on the, which is almost 1,000 miles long. And yeah, what can I say? They know what is going on. Some people in Pentagon do. They do understand what is going on there. I'm not sure about CIA. Those people evidently, yeah, they're not really good. But at least some people, some American military professionals, they do understand what is going on. And then you have the situation. You see, that's the other thing. J.D. Vance says a thing which is, it's anathema. He talked, I quote, after the settlement on Ukraine is reached, there's so much potential in our business with Russia. And I described this business. The Arctic is waiting. Russians are in Arctic big time. United States has incredible treasure locked in to the northern slope of Alaska. Immense, trillions upon trillions of dollars of natural gas, of oil, what have you. So, and what do you need? You need false flag to start war. especially in Kiev, because they know most of them will be either killed or they will be tried at the tribunal for the war crimes in Donbass. And so, yeah, and they may actually still think that they can hide in London or somewhere. Well, London and United Kingdom is going to the dumpster of history, So, and they can say whatever they want. All those imbeciles from Chatham House or MI6, well, they can do terrorism. But at some point of time, even they will not be able to hide those jerks, You saw yourself what happened to Parubi. He was assassinated. Yeah, it's just somebody, and it was the dad. And if you listen to my videos like from a couple of years ago, I stated when this thing is done and over, there will be very many people from Ukraine which will go, no, not against Russians. They will go against their people who killed, well, we know now around 2 million of their sons and daughters. And so, yeah, there's a lot of scores to settle. There's so much blood that I don't think Zelensky is survivable. He will be offed one way or another by somebody, and even not by Russians. He will be offed either by Ukrainian people, immigrants, or what have you, or he will be offed by either MI6 or CIA. So, and nobody wants this bird to sing, because when this bird begins to sing, there will be many people in the US Congress and Pentagon and CIA who will need to go behind bars for a long time for war crimes, corruption, and things of this nature. So we have this situation. You see, that's all because Russians just have the best army in the world, and they do what they do. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree with you all of that. And the other thing is this: the Polish border is a long ways from where Russia fires these drones. This little drone is going to make it from Russian territory all the way into Poland, all the way across Western. This little drone has enough fuel to fly all the way across Western Ukraine and into Poland. Let me tell you something. That's a heck of a piece of a technology there.
Well, Russians do have now drones, even on very small tactical drones, which fly now up to 30 kilometers in the depth. But this one, they say, Russian defense minister stated it's 700-kilometer range, but it was launched in such a way that it couldn't have reached Poland under any conditions. So it is clear it's most likely, let's put it this way, highly likely works both ways. It takes two to do highly likely. So highly likely it is a false flag considering the desperation. And the rumor in Kiev right now is they're going to be now basically not recruiting, mobilizing women.
I'm sure, because they're in deep and serious trouble right now. They're running out of people on the battlefield. And so let's update. What's the latest that you know or hear about as far as the state of affairs on the contact line and in the area of the area that now I consider the area where all of the stuff is entrenched as an area that they are in the process of cleaning out and clearing out?
Yeah. Kupiansk, 50% is controlled. It's like huge news, but yeah, Russians are controlling 50% of Kupiansk, city of Kupiansk and its area. If you look attentively at the map, and we've been talking about this with Danny Davis yesterday. So yeah, it's in operational cauldron, and Russians it's pretty standard thing. Just leave a little bit of the open space, let them start getting out of it. And then when they get out of it, while they're doing this, they either taken prisoners or eliminated. Simple as that. But yeah, it's a lot of things are happening. So yeah, it's every day something happens. Every day Russians liberate a bunch of hamlets, villages, and things like that. So, and what can I say? It just, as Valery Gerasimov stated, the chief of general staff of Russian armed forces stated that, the autumn campaign is the offensive campaign.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's the Marinograd, Pavlov. Just making sure. Konstantinovka. Do you know what?
Yeah. Oh no, it's surrounded. Russians are not going to be in Russia. It's all economy force type operations. You do not want your personnel die for nothing, So they will do it slowly as they were doing before, because in the end, the most important part is obviously, well, and I know it sounds horrible, the killing of their, force, enemy force.
Right.
Simple as that, eliminating it physically. So, and Russians are doing this extremely effectively.
Right. Yeah, that's my understanding, that basically what they're doing is they're taking, well, the other part of it is this, because the NATO countries are unraveling. It works both two ways on their side. It works on their side, certainly, as far as exhausting the enemy. They're running out of supplies. They're becoming, and they're running out of people. Men. I would like to say they're running out of men, but sadly, they're running out of women too. But additionally, the NATO countries are coming unraveled. France,
France
I don't know what's going. They're done. The UK is not far behind them. The UK, and of course, merits. You've got all together. I'll put it like this: if you combined the support for all three of their leaders, you couldn't come up with barely 30%. One's like 11%, 13%, single digits. I mean, that's not sustainable for a government.
Not only that, it's not only in terms of support, it's in terms of actual economic reality on the ground. French, and I'm sorry, if French didn't learn anything in the first term or in the term with the Holland, they continue to elect those globalists and shills. So they elected. Guess what? They will be in the, well, we obviously can foresee the scenario when the literary governance of France unravels completely, like it's just to the point of that some provinces say, screw you, Paris, we declare some kind of independence or whatever. And I wouldn't be surprised the south of France is basically, it's not French anymore. It's Arab, African, what have you, Muslim primarily. So it's done. But even beyond that, guess what? Do they even have anybody there? Do they have anybody who can come up and say, I'm the savior of France? No. You know why? Which is very symptomatic. Yesterday, the grandson of Charles de Gaulle asked for Russian citizenship. He applied. He moved his family from France to Russia. And yes, Charles de Gaulle has the monuments erected in his honor, the last great French. He was the last one. After that, everybody who comes out were cowards, were all kinds of the globalist shills. Then let me tell you, and this is what I was saying for a while. I wrote about it. French military and the intel services are cowards. There is nobody who can raise and say we need to save the country. Yeah, I understand. I'm not calling for the military coup, but guess what? Remember what happened with Vladimir Putin. Only morons believe that Yeltsin appointed him. No, it was clear from the get-go. The military and intel people came to Yeltsin after Yugoslavia, said, you either resign the goddamn from here, or we indeed, they saved the country. This is how it was done, but it was done under, giving him cover that, I appointed the guy, he was director of FSB, but suddenly he's prime minister. All right. Yeah. And then you know what happened. Right. There's nothing like nobody like that of the scale of honor, courage, dedication and sacrifice in their military or intelligence services. They are all shills. I mean, they are probably the same brainwashed creeps as you see on the France. They probably applauded, the opening of this Satanism. They're Satanists pretty much. That's who they are. And so, and what can I say? You cannot save your country. Good riddance. You know what? The only thing which has to be worrying anybody in the world is how to preserve French nuclear deterrent, however small, when it will begin to, devolve essentially and decompose. Same goes for, United Kingdom is a little bit different story. And of course, you talk about Germany. Look at Germany. It's a dead in the water. They hate Russians, most of them anyway. So the only thing they want is sausage, their football and being a cuckold. That's what nation has become. There's no real man, who can get up and say, we need to save the country. No, they either have Nazi sympathizers and some radicalized imbeciles or cuckolds. That's what they are. They have a male population which has no honor. They will not fight for their women. And yeah, they have their political system, which actually, well, it's 1984. And so, yes, this is what we have in Europe. It's done. It's over. Write it off. And it's going to be descending furthermore because it has no resources and it has no real power into the second rate, at some point of time, third rate. And they will essentially will go back to the normal state of the Middle Ages. Dirty, stinky. Well, Paris is dirty. A bunch of the cities, European cities, are dying as dumpsters, essentially. No natives left, or they will be completely clubbed into some kind of corrals, and that's what it becomes. It becomes irrelevant, and it's on the way there. All indications of this are in place, and you cannot deny it anymore. You can't. So globalists wanted that, considering their intellectual and professional level of all of them, they're morons. There are still people who believe that Bill Gates knows how to run the civilization country. He doesn't. He's this spoiled little brat who was born in the family of high privilege. And same goes for all of them. Jeff Bezos, all those billionaires, they're cretins basically. Who just happen, like, look at Zuckerberg. You think he knows how to build social network? Does he know how to run the country? Does he know how to really fly in space? How to create a commercial aircraft? Or what military is? None of them knows. None. They are, well, as Larry wrote beautifully yesterday about Besant. The Besant, he's a moron. He knows how to trade, securities on the Wall Street, but that's not economy. So right. You cannot explain. So, and we literally are living in idiocracy right now, but obviously it has this tragic overtone, unlike the famous Mike Judge's masterpiece movie, from 2006. But yeah, that's what we are. We are now, and where we at now.
Well, I tell you this. I learned a while back, a guy that I knew, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he was Ukrainian. And he's the guy that told me, he says, yeah, my mother and my family won't talk to me because they're Banderites and they're Nazis. I can't even go back to Ukraine. And he said, look, I will guarantee you that when this war is over, there will be some kind of an internal struggle, whether it is a civil war or not. He said, but there's a lot of people that want revenge. There's a lot of people that are going to say, you killed my son, or you did this, or you stole money, or you did this, or you didn't fight, or we would have won. There will be people, so all kinds of things. And he said, and there is going to be a mess in Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you another thing, and Poland probably knows it. They're going to be flooded with refugees. Western Europe is going to be flooded with refugees because Russia is not going to allow them into their country. They've had enough of they're yours. You can have them. And I don't know if you saw my speech at the United Nations Security Council. I told them then, I said, those people are going to be heavily armed. And they're going to be coming into your country, and they're going to have all kinds of machine guns. They're going to have man pads. They're going to be able to shoot down airplanes. They're going to have anti-tank shoulder-fired missiles. You need to get this thing fixed, because when this is over, they're going to be pissed at you, and they're going to be coming in. Europe will be a conflict zone.
Yeah, it's and again, they also will go back. Well, European Union in itself is nothing more. It's essentially the decomposing structure, and they will be involved into what they usually did to each other, going at each other's throats, And so your speech is actually, I posted your speech at the UN Security Council together with Larry's, actually. I post them in my blog, and so people, if they need to just, type Garland, UN, and all that thing that should be there. And the point is that, yeah, absolutely. We know now the Jalisco, whatever the name, junior cartel is, they are trying to train their, dudes, militants in Ukraine to fly drones and all that things. And eventually it's going to splash in here. So, yeah, it's like, listen, I am professional border guard. And I'm not talking about American border guard. I'm talking about Soviet border guard. We had all of it, from air defense complexes to artillery to all kinds of things. I look at this. I was registering this for a long time. U.S. border, southern border. No, the border guards, which they have, which is border patrol and whatever the hell. The only thing which is approaching anywhere to the capabilities, for example, Soviet and Russian border guards, is of course U.S. Coast Guard. It's primarily maritime border. But in terms of border patrol agent, really, how about you getting yourselves the actually fully militarized structure there? Because this is the only way you're going to be able to essentially defend United States, apart from the fact that you have to have, obviously, intelligence, counterintelligence services working on all those good money cartels already have within the United States. And so many people live off them. Some people say, I don't know, I'm not in the position to confirm or debunk it, but evidently some people in Congress have a little bit of the benefits of those money. So this is a totally different situation than it was even 20 years ago. And this is exactly what Musk, and again, listen, Musk, I treat him as the snake oil peddler, basically. Well, maybe because I'm an engineer and I understand how things work. But the point is that he was correct when he spoke like a couple of days ago that Europe is done, it's over. They committed suicide. I said, yeah, dude. Yeah, I was worrying about it for so many years. And then suddenly Musk he stays somewhat optimistic about the United States. And I am also somewhat optimistic, But obviously, when you look attentively, even at today, what happened to Charlie Kirk, this tragedy, he leaves behind the beautiful young family, which is a horrendous tragedy. Only three possibilities. Radicalized so-called left-wing, they're not really left-wing. They are all kinds of the neoliberal globalist type dude from primarily Democratic Party. Although there are radicals on the so-called right too, but again, there are no real conservative party in the United States, and it's also globalist, but just with libertarian streak. That's the only difference. It could be Ukraine behind it, because Charlie Kirk was outspoken about a lot of things related to the special military operation, and of course, we cannot discount even Israel. So there are three possibilities, and we cannot speculate until we know who the perp is, if he is ever caught. But it's all indicative of the complete decomposition of the West on the political, economic, and let alone militarily. It's dead, and it has been dead for a long time. And this is what the world we are living in, and that is why BRICS had a meeting 72 hours ago online. Vladimir Putin was part of it, Lula of Brazil, everybody were there. And they're discussing, and the printout reads like they were discussing about new, more just and more peaceful world order. That's what, so it's just like, the West is dead. United States still has chances.
The U.S. and this, the U.S. can have some serious problems, but the U.S. can grow its own food. The U.S. has its own energy. The U.S. always has the foundation for survival. Now, whether or not people will go out nuts and start killing themselves, each other, that's the only worry. But the U.S. has the foundation it needs to make it some kind of way. It has everything it needs to make it. So whether or not it has some industry, it has some people. Whether or not it does, I don't know. But it has a chance to come back if we can get out from under the hands of the neocons and the globalists. Whether or not we can, I don't know. Europe's done. Europe's finished. Europe's through.
Their population is absolutely. It's silence of the lambs. They show that, oh my God, 180,000 across whole of France, country with a population of 60 million. So they are protesting. Oh, big freaking deal. As I already stated, one of the Russian Duma parliamentarian, actually, who was also the member of the Russian faction in European Parliament, at some point of time, he stated that he said behind the closed doors, we were talking to all those our French, British, German, also members of European Parliament, saying, guys, do you understand what is happening? Your countries are just like really disintegrating. And they said, oh, what are you going to do when the people will rise? And say, oh, we have enough dogs and cops to suppress it. That's how they think. That's how they think. They are not that bright, But the point is, in the end, it could be not with the bank, but with a whimper, So it's just, it's already basically culturally dead.
Here's the other part about Europe. Again, there's no honor amongst thieves. There's some wealthy people in Europe. When they see the money, the finances, and the capital going to the global South, the billionaires and the rich people will get the hell out. They will leave. You know what they're doing now to me? You know how some of these people, they'll buy a corporation and then they'll rape the corporate. They'll take everything, sell everything, and then leave, right? You know what they're doing? That's what they're doing with Europe. They're like, okay, there's only a little bit left. Let's make sure we get the last. They're sucking the last few pennies out because they know it's just about over, and they're going to get everything they have, and they're going to move to Russia, to Beijing, to Africa, South America. They will leave. They'll be in Rio de Janeiro on the beach instead of London, Paris. Baron von whoever that owns all of this stuff in Berlin, he will get the hell out, take every dime he's got, and he'll be living in South America somewhere. That's the truth of it. Is their precious ruling elites will leave them to starve.
Absolutely. They don't care. And that's what it is. If you look at France, for example, show me any non-globalist party in France. They are all Mélenchon, really, all their left-wing parties, they're globalist shills, They will sell you out the same way as the, those Macron people, So there is no de Gaulle there. No, France cannot produce the Gaulle. They don't have people of courage and sacrifice. And so Germany, oh my God, with the, and again, what are the odds of the AfD, alternative for Germany, ever getting to power realistically? Never. Look at the, all those Christian, CDU and all those things. Globalist shells, not Russophobic, they hate Russians, most of their members. So, it's done. You cannot, it's the political deadlock you cannot break. The only thing which cannot break is the revolution from the behind. But maybe considering the real state of the European manhood, or rather lack thereof, no, they will be suppressed. They will be beaten into utter submission and essentially will become slaves. So and when I say that, we cannot say that yet they are there yet at the soup kitchens, they will be highly likely. So and as you correctly stated, they don't have resources.
To show how little the Americans understand about military, most Americans understand about military. So they sent several submarines with some missiles. They've sent some ships with some missiles. So they've got a bunch of ships sitting offshore with a bunch of missiles, right? So Americans go, they're going to overthrow Venezuela. And here's what I say. No. If you think that you can overthrow a country of 30 million people with a few ships full of missiles, you're out of your mind. You know what they can do? What Americans think is this: we can launch a strike. Okay, for the sake of argument. Now, if you think that all of the leaders in Venezuela haven't been watching all of these decapitation strikes, so they're somewhere hidden out in the villages in a mountain somewhere, right? So what can you do? You can launch a bunch of missiles. You can hit military bases, which I guarantee they've already vacated. Guaranteed there's everywhere that they've picked all your targets and they've moved everything out. You can launch these tomahawks or whatever in, and you can hit a bunch of locations, right? Okay, so you hit a bunch of locations, and then what? You're not, Americans are like, yes, they'll overthrow Venezuela. I'm sorry. 4,000 Marines, you couldn't overthrow the neighborhood I live in with 4,000 Marines. You know what I mean? It ain't that big a neighborhood. 4,000 Marines wouldn't. As I've said before, I used to always say, if the British military decided to attack Russia, Russia could send the Moscow police department to take them.
Yeah,
and probably pretty easily.
Much. It's like Bismarck, when the French attacked Germany, what are you going to do? I said I was sending police.
Exactly. So Venezuela, the country of 30 million, I've been there. What they did in Venezuela was they armed people, 4 million people. They gave them AK-47s, machine guns. They armed a gigantic militia. All of these people, that's their revolutionary. I've seen it. I've seen them. They with their tan militia uniforms on, with their guns in every village. If you go into that country, there's no place you can go in that country. Mountains up and down everywhere like that, villages all over. You cannot go in that country. They'll shoot you to pieces. So the idea that people are like, we're going to overthrow the government of Venezuela. No, we're not. All we can do, Americans don't have any understanding of what an actual nation is and the people that have pride in their nations. I've been there. These Venezuelan people will defend their nation if they need to. All we can do is fire some missiles. We can't do a damn thing to take Venezuela.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, that's not Iraq. You cannot just land it somewhere, and expect that. And terrain of Venezuela. Oh my God, including those famous Stable Mountains. Did people see them? Which is like from the outer world. It's almost like from the Avatar world, those. Yeah, this is mountainous country. Jungle, mountainous country, impenetrable jungle sometimes. So good luck, occupying it. It's especially with the one single load of the, brigade combat team of the Marines. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, you're right, absolutely. The only thing they can do is to launch Tomahawks, which of course is also the limited quantity United States has. So yeah, there is a lot of things which, plus, they fly all those funny little Su-30s. Which Russia supplied Venezuela about 20 years ago. And these have been updated. They are pretty modern aircraft, and in the hands of the good pilots, they will go against anything, including this F-35, which is now just pretty much there.
And if I'm not mistaken, they have some older models, but they have S-300.
Yeah, they do have S-300s.
And even the older S-300s are very, very effective.
Yeah, and so that's what Venezuela has. So it's you're absolutely correct that the only thing they can do is to hurl some Tomahawks or JASSMs. That's about it. They will try to probably fly if they'll pull the aircraft carrier to do the classic, strikes, strike cycle. And good luck with that. And again, it's all about the surprise. I don't think Venezuelan government is surprised with anything. They're ready. Yeah, they're ready. So, and obviously, those guys, they're kind of a little bit different. They differ militarily and psychologically from, for example, Arabs, Middle Eastern people, So, and it's a nation. They recognize themselves as nation. So, it's not easy, to put it mildly.
Yeah, who wants to, I remember riding, going through Venezuela, driving for hours and hours all over the place. Nothing but mountains. You're driving down a mountain road and you come up and there's a town up on the hill and you go down there and there's a town on the hill and everything. It's just mountains everywhere. How are you going to drive? And if you're not on the road, on the side of the road, it's a cliff. Yeah, so it's not like you can say we won't take the roads, we'll cut through. Yeah. And it's down that cliff, jungles with poisonous snakes and all kinds of stuff. So if you're not on if you're going from Caracas and let's say you're going to another town, there's not a lot of other options. You can't use tanks or tracked vehicles. You're on the road and they've got the road. Beside the roads are cliffs that you go over the side, jungles, mountains, volcanoes. There's just nowhere to go, no way except to take the roads. And people are going to be armed all along the roads and they're going to cut you to pieces.
Well, it's the same actually with Iran. I remember there are a bunch of amateurs essentially saying, we can take Iran. Dudes, have you seen the landscape terrain there? And especially once you go more to the north, from the shore line, that's people say, why there are no large cities? I mean, there are some, Bandarabas and all that, large enough, but why there are no huge cities, along the Persian Gulf, the shore of the Persian Gulf in Iran? Well, because its transportation links are extremely hard there, because if you go from the inside Iran, it's all mountains. It's either horrendous desert, which is still, it's not the Iraqi desert. It's not flat. It's all kinds of the real deserts with sand. You cannot drive any freaking vehicle on it. And then, of course, there are those mountains, and the more you go to the north, especially what is called northern Azerbaijan or Mazandaran, it's all mountains upon mountains. And, just like, good luck going there and, putting armored division there and see what's going to happen, So, and the same here with Venezuela, and it's a fairly large country. So, yeah, it's posturing, but they might try to somehow, as now they're discussing that allegedly in 2019, Team SEAL 6 landed somebody in North Korea and killed civilians. Well, what can I say? Did it happen? Could have happened, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. But evidently, North Korean regime just doing fine. They didn't achieve much, to put it mildly. And this is what it is. I mean, they, as I quote General Robert Latif, PhD in physics, Major General, 20 years service in DARPA. He said, everything that American public and political class know about war is from entertainment industry. So there you go. And when you look also at some American allegedly professionals who talk about things like, Top Gun Maverick, the Patton movie. So it's like, dudes, are you freaking serious? This is like Hollywood. It's BS, Yeah, obviously, we know Rambo. Rambo comes in and he defeats the Red Army, and the regime in Moscow falls. It's like those people live in an alternative universe.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been hearing lately is, yes, it's going to be dangerous times, because when the Ukrainian military finally just like completely kind of buckles and starts to fall, and the Russians start moving and get to the Dnieper or whatever, then there'll be pressure on Trump to act, and then France and the UK, they'll say that's their red line. And here's my thoughts. Well, they have all the red lines they want, but what could they do? Even if they said, that's it, you're not going to take Odessa, and Russia says, well, okay, let's see you stop us. They don't have anything to send.
No, they really think that they can move, let's say, couple air wings of F-35s, and Russians will quake in the boots. They do not understand that the most combat capable air force in the world today is Russian Air Force, including using their 5th generation fighters and having the unrivaled beyond the visual range score. Beyond the visual range. The longest, which was recorded by R-37, was 215 kilometers. So, it's not even within the range of the only long-range weapon U.S. Air Force has, which is, of course, AIM-120, AMRAAM, which is, do those people understand what they're talking about, especially considering the fact what Russian air defense is? No, they don't. They don't have reference point. None of them understand it. They never experienced anything. There's not a single general today in the United States who understands, who can actually run the combined arms operation, who know how to deploy the troops and things like that. Mr. Donahue, who actually together with Mr. Aguto planned famous counteroffensive in 2023 by killing more than 160,000 killing of the Ukrainian soldiers, and not even breaking into the first line of Russian defense. That's the level. These people are literally, they do not know what they are doing, and it doesn't matter what kind of the star they are wearing. It's just they're not ready. They don't have expertise. They don't have the grasp of the warfare of the 21st century. The only thing they know, they have the field manual 3-0, which they can read and say, oh yeah, let's involve long-range fires. What long-range fires? And I speak about this for the last 10 years now. United States Army is literally outranged and outmatched in every single category of the fires, in artillery, in the MLRS, in let alone the cruise missiles and things like that. So what can I say? And it's unfolding in front of our eyes, and this is the end of the West. Well, I mean, it happened already. It just, as I repeat, for the last 12 months, it's an arrangement phase. It's how you want to do it, which Mr. Putin stated himself a few days ago. You said you can do it diplomatically, or we will do it militarily. Either way, we will achieve the aims of the special military operation, which is, of course, the demilitarization and denazification, not just of Ukraine. That's what many people missed, of the whole NATO, and this is exactly what is happening. And NATO is dead, basically. That's what it is.
I think, and a lot of people have mentioned this, but I think it had something to do with it. After the SCO meeting, the Chinese military parade, you had people say it was the Chinese military parade. Well, you had the Russian military parade and the Chinese military parade. Fair enough. Yes, the parades are something that we all see that's visual, but certainly they have intelligence. They have Pentagon military intelligence to tell them this is what the Russians have, this is what the Chinese have. And they started looking at Venezuela. And it seems to me that, and now supposedly, allegedly, whether it happens or not, you've heard they're going to write some new Pentagon report that says, not so much Russia and China. We'll still hope to take them out, but we're going to focus more at home. I think there is a realization somewhere, I don't know where. Yeah. And now the neocons don't want to hear it, and they're still going to say, no, we have to take Russia and China. But I believe there is beginning to be a realization at some very high levels, even though they have to fight about it, that the United States is not in a military position to confront Russia or China. And to be quite frank, I don't even think they can confront Iran. Iran will turn Israel into a moonscape in 2 days.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I agree. And again, you have to keep in mind, neocons and globalists are not good militarily. They may wear a lot of stars, but they're not good. They're simply not good. Their Western military education is a joke. Then you add here ideological, fervent, proselytizing, fanatical view of neocons, and then you have the country which is essentially run by Israel, like the United States. And what do you have? You have incompetent people. There's not a single American military leader who can even compare to, Valery Gerasimov celebrated his 70s 2 days ago. He's the greatest strategist and military leader of the century. You look at those midgets like Mille, they're midgets. I mean, they have no achievements today. They lost all their wars. They're not good militarily. They do not understand combined arms operations. Most importantly, majority of them, they do not have serious, STEM, physics, mathematics, military education, which is required. And I made the video a couple days ago about Gerasimov. Altogether, he spent 11 years academically just studying, So many people do not understand. He is not just has a graduate degree in military engineering, which is related to the armor, and things like that. He has a doctorate. He is a doctor of military science. So it's like, wow, so go. You want to discuss anything with him? Be my guest. I don't think he will take anybody from Pentagon seriously, So, and obviously, to imagine that, there will be decorum and everything, but these are such a different league. I cannot emphasize enough. And, I warned about it. I would lie if I say that, oh, yeah, I'm so humble, I will not point it out. No, I will point it out. I predicted it all, starting from 2014. One of my first posts on my blog at January 2015 was, I wrote, United States doesn't understand what it got itself into, and it's already lost. They just don't know it yet. Well, here we are 10 years later, and you're absolutely correct. I mean, the United States simply has no resources. To fight anything serious. It never did, really. Consider the fact that the United States was an industrial superpower. It was industrially monster in 1965, 66. It got itself into Vietnam, which wasn't really, it was a serious war, but it was a very different war from, for example, World War II with massive tank battles and things like that. No, but guess what? In 1971, Nixon had to get off the golden standard on advice of Kissinger, because guess what? That United States, which was a monster economically, couldn't already finance the war in Vietnam. That's why they needed to get off, and get into this, to kill off the Bretton Woods and all this, because they needed to finance the war. They had no means to finance it. Today, what we have $35 trillion bubble, which there's nothing in it. It's just hot air. It's not real money. It's just zeros in there, and Russians already speak about it openly. They speak about it in the Eastern Economic Forum. One of the economic deputy ministers of Russia spoke about it. There are even the plans of drop it somehow, to dissolve it into cryptocurrency or something like that, because United States is never going to pay it back. It simply has no. It's a country bankrupt. But as you correctly stated, unlike Europe, it has resources and it has still human capital, and so we'll see where it is all going.
The other thing I think is this, and that is countries on the upswing as opposed to the downswing. The United States military industrial complex. I heard that a Patriot, now if you order a Patriot system, it's 7 years out.
Yeah.
7 years delivery. So these people that are waiting for delivery, they're going to have the Europeans pay for delivery, saying, we'll deliver you these Patriots for Ukraine in 7 years. They're never going to see those Patriots, but we're going to take the money. My understanding is Russia is dramatically increasing its military industrial complex. As a matter of fact, what I'm reading is the shipbuilding and the building of its naval forces, its submarines has dramatically increased. But here's the problem. We don't make steel and iron and all the things. We don't make the basics where Russia makes the things that's needed. You can't build a ship without steel.
Well, there's a lot of things, and there is not just steel. It has to be special steel. If you remember the scandal with the Virginia submarines, which happened not far from me here in Tacoma, the lab which was tasked with testing the deep diving steel for the Virginia is a great south, make no mistake. And as it turned out that that woman in the lab just made up those numbers. The steel didn't pass the appropriate tests and appropriate criteria. It doesn't mean that Virginia, when it dives to 600 feet, will necessarily be smashed. No, it has obviously bearing on the critical dive depth, which is completely different story. Then that's when this, what parameter might get you, and God forbids you will repeat the fate of, something like Thresher. But obviously that was the red flag. So, and this is just happening all across the board. And it's not just the quantity, it's quality.
Well, the other part of it is this. Okay, if the U.S. is building ships, China's building an unbelievable number of ships, and Russia's building ships, right? But a ship is a platform. The other problem is this: if we build a ship and put a bunch of old slow Tomahawks on it, it's a great looking ship, it's a fantastic ship and everything, but the missiles are slow, as opposed to a ship that's carrying, Zircon, that's carrying a hypersonic. So even if the U.S. ship is a million times better, those Zircons are going to hit it from 1,500 kilometers before it even has a chance to get in range to fire anyway.
Yeah, and again, we're looking at a complete mismatch in terms of the strike weapons and, of course, air defense. I mean, United States still remains one of the leading, if not the leading, anti-submarine warfare nations in terms of it was always good. American electronics and signal processing, excellent, sonar, systems, excellent, so good torpedoes and things like that. So it's in this respect, United States was always kind of leader, or among the top 2, top 3 leaders in the world. So, but the rest of it, in terms of air defense, we know that what air defense of the United States is. We saw it, how it performed, So if they think that SM-6 with a maximum speed of Mach 3.5 and can actually intercept Mach 10 Zircon, I have a bridge to sell, especially the thing which maneuvers at Mach 10, okay, sure, dream, what can I say? It's just, it's technological mismatch, and I repeat it on constantly. Basically, United States lost their arms race and lost it bigly. So, and it's in the end, it is the military balance which matters. And you absolutely correctly pointed this out. it's critical that they say, yeah, hell with China and Russia, not because, I mean, yeah, we changed our, priorities. No, because they cannot take on it. It's simple as that. Obviously, the main thing will be on something which the United States conceivably can defeat and declare itself victor and say, like after Iran, oh, our greatest fighting force, in history. Yeah, you defeated the 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. Yeah, sure. So,
well, couldn't even fight the U.S. couldn't even fight a war because if I'm not mistaken, they had like 300,000 troops or more that we put in there. The U.S. could not muster that kind of a fighting force. The amount of troops, the amount of equipment and tanks and all of that stuff and trucks that the United States put together for the Iraqi invasion. Even though it was a weaker country,
in 2003 it was, in 2003 the coalition was much smaller than it was, of course, in 1990, in 1991, when the coalition had the free ride for half a year. They were able to muster, assemble all those troops without any interference from those morons from Iraq who believe that, oh yeah, they're not going to attack. I mean, that tells you basically what Arab military is generally, so they and then they did attack, which is liberated Kuwait and things of this nature. So, but it's
we don't have this stuff. We can't put it together.
No, they're not there.
And if we tried now with long distance strike weapons, as soon as they started collecting things together to attack, I mean, Russia, China, any major country would just annihilate the ports and of course sink any ships that had equipment that was heading towards
center areas. And in terms of preposition force, United States has to move that preposition force, 52 different types of the heavy load ships, very large displacement between. So some people say bunch of them are not seaworthy anymore, because modern submarine force takes care of it, so no matter what you do. And it's the idiotic idea to try to unleash some kind of the conflict. The only thing we just have to keep in mind those Europeans and Ukrainians who would do anything just to unleash the war, because first they're cowards, they cannot sustain it, and they don't understand what's going to happen if Russia begins not special military operation but war. And people evidently in Berlin, London, or Paris, they do not understand what it is, So I
think ultimately, I predicted this for a long time. They'll be lucky if they don't get their heads cut off at home before this is over. They'll be lucky when the people realize exactly what's been done to them, because they're talking about, we're in we're experiencing a recession. No, you're not. Because a recession implies and a recession implies that it's temporary, that we're in a recession, but we're coming out. This is not a recession.
No.
That would be like saying the Mojave Desert is in a drought. Well, if you consider 1.7 million years a drought, sure. They are not in a recession. They are reduced to utter poverty and conflict for the foreseeable for centuries to come now. And that's what the difference is. They're going to expect to come out of it. And when they wake up and realize the depth of their economic plight and the fact that Russia, when they say, we're sorry, Russia, these were the old guards, we made a mistake, can we have this energy back? And Russia says, no, that's already gone. That's going to China.
It's already transferred.
Exactly. Well, we will see. And I suspect that right now, I don't think with the let me answer real quick, and that is the numbers of drones that Russia's now 700 in one night. The numbers of drones and missiles are something I don't think the West and the Ukrainians ever expected. This kind of an
they simply cannot match it. Not even it's just. Well, they should have studied Russia and the Russian economy and Russian military-industrial complex. I warned about it. So what can I say?
Andrei, well, thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget, everyone, go to Andrei's. There we go. Before we go, I just want to show you real quick. Andrei has a great website. It's called Reminiscence of the Future. It's his blog. He's got everything on here, all of his stuff. And over here, look at this, all of his books. So make sure you get all of them. They're really good stuff. Of course, You can click. He's got a great YouTube show, Smoothie X12. So make sure you subscribe to his YouTube show. Make sure you check his blog out, and of course, look right there. Buy me a coffee. So make sure that you also support him. As you know, with all of us here on YouTube and everywhere else, this stuff comes out of our pocket. None of us are getting rich. Some of us are just trying to make enough, hopefully, to to pay for the stuff that we're doing. Andrei, thanks a lot. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
My pleasure. Talk
All right,
later.
thanks a lot, everybody. Share this on all your
Bye.
social media platforms, and if you can, Patreon, PayPal, buy me a coffee, whatever the case may be. It's highly appreciated if you can afford to. Also, I've got my snail mail stuff there. I am working to raise money. Hopefully I'll be able to go to Moscow maybe in November. I don't know, but if you can afford to contribute to the Moscow trip, it would be highly appreciated. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Share it everywhere. We're out.